Hello. Today in this video we're going to be looking at hotbars a bit because a few people have asked me now about my hotbars or my HUD settings. So I'm just going to go through them mostly for tanks. My DPS and my healers are kind of built off each other as well, but we'll mostly just be focusing on tanks for today. And by mostly I mean only. So anyway, so first, I guess what I should do first is, and I apologize, this isn't really a scripted video, so it's going to be kind of freestyly. Um, First of all, I got my base rotation, or not rotation, setup for my hotbar. Back when I started in Heaven's Sword, I had seen a video of someone else playing on PlayStation 4, which is where I started. And they were playing Dark Knight, which is what I started with back then when I first started like looking at YouTube videos. And they had a general hotbar back then that I've kind of just like stuck with and built off of over time. The name of that person is Electro Ray. I will link their channel in the description. They don't really upload a ton of videos, but if you want to check them out, go ahead. But pretty much we'll start. We'll start with Dark Knight here and then kind of go through all the other tanks. You have to kind of keep in mind with these hotbars, like I said, they've kind of been changing over the years. So some stuff will be like slightly different for different tanks depending on when those tanks were introduced, aka Gunbreaker, or like when new abilities were introduced. So I kind of move stuff around, so not everything is super similar on tanks, but generally they are. So I guess what I'll just start with is like my unmend right here. I pretty much have this consistent on like every tank. I have their pole thingy right here on every tank. The next thing for me is I have my 1 2 3 combo, like 1 right here, 2 right here, 3 right here. Pretty sure this is pretty consistent for every tank. Yeah, and it is kind of like different on some of the tanks because some of them have different moves, but yeah. What else? The next thing is probably like Voke. Voke is the same place on every tank. It's always there. I always have like my ultimate cooldown here, like Living Dead, Home Gang, Hollowed, and Bolide. They're all like right here. Right here is kind of an important button for me. I'm not really sure why. It just feels okay to press for me like really quickly on controller. So this is usually where I have like my like quit cooldown that's like unique to each tank. So like here it's Blackest, on Paladin it's Sheltron, on Warrior it's Bloodwetting, and on Gunbreaker it's Heart of Conundrum. Next, for over here in this section, I usually keep AoE here. Usually I'll do like the 1-2 combo right here, and then this is pretty consistent on all the other tanks except Dark Knight actually. Like, well, I guess kind of Paladin too. Paladin's swapped for some reason. I don't know. Like I said, some of this stuff is kind of like, it's kind of different, but just know that this is kind of like my AoE quadrant right here. But yeah, they're all kind of like similar. I kind of try and keep like Warrior and Gunbreaker. They both have, or I guess Dark Knight too. They both have like their like, you know, special AoE move in this slot, and then I kind of have like the 1-2 here, and then like for Paladin I just have I guess Paladin's kind of different because it doesn't really have a special AoE move. I mean, I guess Holy Circle is, but you kind of can just spam this during Requiescat anyway, so I don't know, it's kind of whatever. Another thing too is my gap closers. Like, I have my gap closers always here except for Dark Knight, and that's only because Dark Knight, for one thing, it has 4 AoE moves where all the other tanks don't, so I like Flood on my first hotbar. But like I have, I guess this is another thing I should go over too. For controller, I actually don't use the extended crossbar that they introduced. I can't remember if it was in Shadowbringers or Stormblood, but they made like an extra hotbar that a few people have asked me about. But I've been playing since Heaven's Sword, and I've always just done like So like you can have two hotbars that you just swap back and forth, right? Like these are my 1 and my 2. And then what I also have is my 3 here, where like here I just have like, I usually have like my mount, my 2 teleports. I have like my 2 go-to like countdown macros, and then I have like the cancel macro right there. And then usually the last couple buttons on there are just like abilities that have gone to die that I missed, like Dark Side and Dark Hearts. And then like on Warrior, I have Deliverance and Internal Release. But yeah, so pretty much what I do on a controller is I don't use the extended cross hotbar. What I do is I use like the thing where you can hold down left trigger and then press right trigger to get the left side of it, or you can hold down right trigger and then press left trigger to get the right side of it. I probably should have looked at this earlier, but there's somewhere in here in your settings, here, I think. Maybe not here. Where? Oh, here. So yeah, you can make it in here where it'll let you do that on controller. And that's just what I've always been playing with. So I never actually did, I guess it's this part right here to do the extended cross hotbar. I've just always done this for my 3rd hotbar, and that's how I work off of that. I guess another thing we can do is kind of look at like the 2nd hotbar. I guess there's another thing too. Let me see if this is consistent. This is kind of consistent on, I guess Dark Knight is kind of the odd child here too, where I have edge here, but on all the other tanks I have like well, I don't know, it's kind of weird because like I said, the tanks are they can be kind of different with their abilities. But I guess like this button right here, I usually put like that fast move, like Blasting Zone on Gunbreaker, Upheaval on Warrior, and then what's this move at Spacion something on Paladin. It used to be Spirits Within. And then on Dark Knight it's just weird. I guess I have Dark Knight like this because like this is kind of where it gets like how tanks have changed over the years, because Dark Knight I have like this, and I've always had Salted Earth on that button right here, like on my 3rd hotbar. So it feels weird. Like I've always had Salted Earth and Carven Spit there, but then like on Warrior I have Fell Cleave and Infuriate back there, and then on Paladin I have Holy Spirit and this. So I kind of have like my AoE slash like power up move right here, and then I have like a spammable move right here. But I guess Dark Knight is kind of different because I've always just had Carven Spit right there. Same thing for Abyssal Drain. I've always had it right there. And that's another thing too, is like Plunge on Dark Knight. I've like always had it in this spot. So that's the reason why Dark Knight, another reason why Dark Knight doesn't have the gap closer here like all the other tanks. Like I said, that's really just my preference. For the 2nd hotbar is something else I was going to go over. I kind of always, I'm pretty sure I have Interject here on every tank. It just feels good to press that button when it is necessary, which is very few times, but when it is necessary, it's good to have right there. For everything else, I kind of have like some type of cooldown right here. So like on Dark Knight, I have Blood Weapon. Paladin, I have Cover, which I mean, it doesn't get used that much, but Warrior, I have Thrill, and Gunbreaker, I have Camouflage. I like always have Rampart here on every tank. One thing that's kind of different here, I think it's consistent for, once again, all of them besides Dark Knight. I have like my support ability right here, and it's macroed to always go on the 2nd person in the party list, which will, you know, be your co-tank. The only difference there is Dark Knight, because Dark Knight didn't always have Blackest, and I always have had Shadow Wall in this spot, so it's just always been there. Sprint is here on the 2nd hotbar for every tank. The one thing you have to watch about with Sprint, if you use my type of setup though, is that sometimes you can, like, if your hotbars get messed up, or if your finger twitches, you might swap trying to sprint and then, you know, hit Living Dead like this. that has happened many times in my life. So try and watch out for that. What else? Let's see. Let's see what I have for this button on the other tanks. So this is another thing that's different for Dark Knight. So I've always had Dark Mind right here for Dark Knight. But every other tank in that spot, I have my stun move. I don't know why it's like that for me. I just always have. To the left of that, I always have Reprisal right here. I don't know. That just feels good to me on the second hotbar. Right here, I usually have my AoE, like mitigation tool right here. The only one that's different here is Warrior, because Warrior, before Shake It Off was like pretty like booty, and I didn't really have a spot for it, but then I eventually settled for it right here. So it's like the only one that's different, and it has arm's length right there instead. Whereas I think all the other tanks have arm's length slightly to the side. Paladin doesn't. Paladin doesn't only because Paladin doesn't have as many buttons. So I can put it on my first hotbar. I've in some expansions I've actually had it like that on other tanks too, but as I've changed around my hotbars a bit, it's kind of moved around, because like now I have Oblation there, I have Nascent there. This is another thing too, is I have Nascent right here on Warrior for non-macroed, so I can put it on like a DPS or something, or a healer. And then I have freaking Double Down right here on on Gunbreaker. So that button right here is kind of just like all over the place, to be honest. Another thing too is I used to have this kind of changed with this expansion actually. I used to have my potion like always right here on my tanks, but this expansion everyone kind of got like an extra move except Paladin. So Dark Knight, Warrior, and Gunbreaker have all changed that spot from their potion. Their potions are all on the second hotbar on this bottom button now. I just kind of chose that spot for my potion. I'm not really sure why. It kind of just felt okay to me. Probably because I was playing Dark Knight, and usually I would potion I'd potion either like after Siphon Strike or after Soul Eater, so I'm already on that side, so that just felt okay to me. And it didn't really change anything else for my hotbar if I put it there. So that's where it is. What else? One thing I kind of want to go over is this is kind of like your free slots, but also not really your free slots. On your second hotbar, you'll notice on a lot of tanks, I like to have like this button, like my first hit of my combo, and at least like my last hit of my combo, and like my spammable, like quote unquote spammable fast move, like fast recovery move, on my second hotbar in like the same spots. Because sometimes you'll get into situations where you have to like move out of the way, and like you'll have to move for a mechanic or whatever, and sometimes you know you'll be nervous or your finger will twitch or something, and you'll get stuck on like this hotbar. Like I'll swap to this hotbar to hit like Rampart, and then like I don't swap back, or I don't realize it's gonna swap back for me, so I'll swap back to this one, but I'm still trying to hit my button. So it's like having your first hotbar kind of like replicate your second one on the your second one replicate your first one on the second hotbar can be useful sometimes, like for stuff like that if stuff comes out. But that's only if you have the hotbar space. Like for Dark Knight, it's pretty much gone because I have like no hotbar space on Dark Knight. So like I only have the first hit, and then like my blood spillers on this hotbar that are still there, because I've taken it up with like all this other stuff. But that's a useful little tip I've used over the years. Limit Break is like always here. The two shirks are always here. Honestly, I could probably get rid of one of these nowadays, because I really only use this one. It's also macro like how these moves are, where it just always goes on the second target. And I can actually show that macro just in case someone doesn't have it right here. it's like this, and it's like this for like all the other moves too. So like for Nascent Flash, you just have it so it always goes on the second person in the list, like something like that. So I could probably get rid of this top one, to be honest, but it's just kind of always there just in case. Because mostly it's there because back when I was doing UCOB for the first time, there's a time at the beginning of UCOB where you have to swap, like you have to tank swap in that fight, or else it will die really quickly from Titania. And sometimes the macro wouldn't work, so I had this button here just in case the macro didn't work, so I could just press it, just in case I needed to. Besides that though, I mean, it's kind of this right here. This is pretty consistent. I always have my like stance right there on all my tanks. The rest, this third hotbar is kind of like all over the place, to be honest. Like Warrior has a Sheeking root, like a dual move right here. Like I have Decimate right here, and then I have Decimate on my first hotbar. Like my third hotbar is kind of just where I put like my buffs and stuff, and like kind of quick moves I can kind of do this really quick with, to hit them. There's not really like anything there specific, besides just kind of preference, I guess. What else? I don't think there's really anything else with my hotbars. The other thing I'll talk about is kind of like my HUD setup, because a few people have asked me about that. My HUD is actually extremely cheeking basic. I don't really have like anything changed. My eyes kind of hurt when I have smaller stuff. So like for me, my UI is set to the full HD 150%. That's why everything is kind of like big like this. I like it like that. I know a lot of people play like smaller stuff. So just do whatever's better for your eyes. For me, I like this. A big thing people have asked me about though is this hotbar right here. This hotbar is incredibly useful, especially as, I mean, it's less useful as a PC player because you'd have like all your moves right here. But as a console / controller player, like I play on PC now, but I still use this because I still use controller on PC. This hotbar is not meant to be pressed at all. It's literally just to show me timers of stuff. And it's the same thing for like every tank. I just have like specific things like potions or long cooldowns or stuff that aren't like immediately visible to me on my first hotbar. I have them here so that I can keep track of them. The way you turn this on is in the HUD settings, and it's just the hotbar 1 or hotbar 2 or whatever, and you can just place it wherever you want. I think you can also use like these, like the hotbars like 6 through 9, which are like sideways. If you want to put them, like I've seen some people have them like this or something, like on the sides. You can do that as well. But I just like I think it looks better if it's just down here for me personally. So that's good. And then another thing too is I kind of have like this open spot here, because this is usually where I put like my ACT, if I have that open. So I have like this open spot over here. Then for gauges, I mean, stuff like that, you know, I kind of just go off of visual, to be honest. Like I think all of them except for Warrior and Gunbreaker have like the actual UI for it, because it's not that super hindering for me. And then Dark, I even have this over here for my shadow, even though this isn't really necessary, to be honest. I could just turn this off. Well, I don't know if you can turn this off separate from this, but yeah, I have this too. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for my hotbars. Like I said, it's pretty much just a comfortable thing. And I've just been building off of these hotbars and trying to keep my tanks as consistent as possible with each other throughout the years, to just try and keep them, you know, the same. So it's easier. So pretty much, you know, generally, because they all work like generally the same. So as long as I have generally the same stuff in generally the same spaces, my mind can get back to it rather quickly. But yeah, that's kind of all I have for this video. I hope this helps anybody who's wondering about my hotbars or my HUD or anything like that. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.